Yo, what's up guys? It's Guilty with another guide video for you today. The most requested guide from you guys in the comments of the last video was a guide to aiming, and I kind of want to touch on that a little bit. So aiming isn't something that can necessarily be taught. There's a lot of variables that go into aiming. There's muscle memory. There's a lot of different things. Sensitivities, and there's not a perfect set way. I can't just give you a sensitivity. You go in game and you aim perfectly. It's a combination of a bunch of different things, muscle memory, but there are things you can do to make your aim better. Things, practices that you can do, warm-ups you can do, and there are small things like crosshair placement and stuff you can do to make aiming easier on yourself. Aiming is all hand and eye coordination and muscle memory, so it's something that's developed over time, and it's not something that you can necessarily teach. But I did want to do a video for you guys on aiming, so I can teach some of you guys who may be new to FPS games on the proper way to aim, different things that you can do to make aiming easier for yourself and stuff like that. But anyway, guys, here are the 5 warm-ups and tips I have for you today. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and talk about our first tip here. It's going to be crosshair placement. Most of you coming from games like, Counter-Strike, or, if you've been playing FPS games for a while, you're already going to know what this is. If you're coming from a game like League of Legends or something like that, you're going to have no idea what this is. Or if this is your first FPS game, you're definitely not going to know really what crosshair placement is. It's kind of common sense, and it's very basic, but it's something that will improve your aim in a way. It's not necessarily aim, but it's going to improve your shooting by a lot. Especially if you kind of walk around with your crosshair aimed at the ground. So let's talk about what crosshair placement is. It's very simple. It's basically walking around the map with your crosshair at head level aimed at where people will actually be. So, for example, there's never going to be anyone up here. So there's no sense in aiming up here when you turn around this corner. People are going to be right here. So the way you want to take the corner is aim it at head level, aiming in the general direction of people. A big part of winning Widow v Widows is crosshair placement and just being mobile and moving. So for an example, or actual example, say there's a Widow up here. It's been called out by your teammate. There are kind of 2 ways you can take this fight. You can walk out like this and turn your crosshair up and aim at him, which you're not going to have the time to make this move. But the instant you get to right here, you're going to be sniped. A good Widow will already be pre-aiming at head level, where you're going to be at. So the correct way to take this fight is, peek. You're with your crosshair aimed already at where she's going to be. Even better, try to throw off her head level. She's going to be aiming at head level, so there are 2 ways you can kind of do this. You can kind of crouch out and change your head level, or you can jump out and change your head level. So basically, she's going to be aiming right here. You're going to jump, and she's going to have to actually move her crosshair to take that fight. In fact, the worst way to even do this, I mean, it's technically has good crosshair placement, but if we're talking Widow v Widow, doing this is the worst way to actually peek a Widow, because the instant I peek here, she just got to click. You have to click too, but there's timing, there's stuff involved, so it's better to just try to throw off head level when peeking another Widow, whether you're McCree, whether you're whatever. Just always try to throw off your head level. So jumping out like this, aiming head level, crouching out like this, or you can't really crouch spam anymore in this game. Actually, you kind of can on Widow. I don't know how much this shows, but this is something that's a big part of going into Widow v Widow fights, and being a good Widow is knowing where Widow is, having good crosshair placement, peeking correctly, knowing where their crosshair is placed is a big part, because then you can throw it off. Alright guys, so this next tip is going to be how to warm up with Ana headshots only. Basically what this mode lets you do is make it so the Anas can't hurt you, meanwhile you have to hit the Anas in the head to kill them. This mode's great for like McCree. It's okay for Widowmaker. Widowmaker doesn't have as much trouble hitting Ana in the head, but it's really good for McCree and getting your headshots down, especially on a character that's hard to hit. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set the hero to Ana, the difficulty to hard, count to max, and the team to 2, or whatever team you're not on. Then you're going to set the rule set to skirmish, which basically makes it so that the game doesn't end right away. As far as maps go, try to pick a small map so the AI doesn't wonder. I personally like Lijiang Tower because it's kind of small, it's easy to get to the spawn, or if you're not going to sit in the spawn, the Ana doesn't have far to walk, so you're never at a point where there's not a lot of Anas on the map, or you have no one to shoot. Scrolling down here, you're going to set the headshots mode, or headshots only, to on. And once you do that, you're pretty much done. But like I said earlier, this mode is mainly geared towards McCree. Most of the other heroes don't benefit too much from it. You could probably get away with doing Widowmaker on it, but I find it a lot, easier to headshot on in the head than it does on McCree. So, but a lot of players, they warm up this way every day. I would say like for 30 minutes, this will get your aim nice and warm. Trying to track Ana in the head is kind of annoying. It's probably the smallest hitbox in the game, but I hope you guys enjoyed this tip, and let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So this next one I've shown on my channel before, and this is personally my favorite way to warm up McCree. What you do is you set the health options to 300% and you set the damage to 25%, which makes these fights take an extremely long time, and it lets you focus and warm up your aim. It's kind of like DMing in Counter-Strike, because These 80-80 kind of spam fights only happen every now and then. They're not a constant throughout the game. And by playing this way with 600 HP and 25% damage, you're basically in an extended fight, and it lets you practice your tracking, your flicking, your dodging, and your headshots and stuff like that. So it's kind of like DMing in Counter-Strike, same kind of thing. It forces you into fights that you wouldn't normally be in, so you can get warmed up versus just playing a normal map of CS. Alright guys, so this one's personally my favorite. This is how to warm up fair air rockets. And this game was pretty cool because basically it lets you fly forever. And so it lets you have an infinite air rocket fight if you want it to be that way. The settings for this are pretty simple. Basically what you do is you set it to a map that has really high skybox. Nepal used to be really, really good for this because you actually used to be able to fly to each point. You no longer can do that, so you just basically turn off all the maps except Nepal, or just set it to any map that has a really high skybox. I don't really know which one has the highest, but Nepal is a good map to do it on just because it's wide open and all that. Scrolling down here once you turn off all of these maps, you're going to go to the ability cooldown modifier. But first off, actually, let's talk about something else here. So the health options are the next thing you want to do because it lets you have a longer fight. You can set it to a 3-shot air rocket, but I personally like to extend the fight as long as possible just so there's not a lot of running back in between spawn. So set the health modifier to 30 and set the damage modifier to 25. And then once you get to the ability cooldown modifier, you're going to set that to 0. This is going to let you basically fly forever. You're going to have a very short cooldown on your boost, and your fuel, you'll be way up in the air. So you're going to be falling as you fight, but your boost will regen quickly enough that you will never touch the ground. So if you're looking to get good at fair, or, just practice her and warm up, this is the way to do it. It's a lot of fun if you've never tried it before. It's if you get quite a bit of friends playing it, it can be kind of hectic. But it's a great way to warm up, so definitely check it out. So the fifth and final tip I have for you today on how to warm up your aim and improve your aim is going to go back to the original statement I made in this video. Aiming isn't something that can be taught, it has to be learned. Hand and eye coordination is something that's developed over time, and people are born with better hand and eye coordination than other people. Muscle memory isn't something that can be taught, it has to be developed, and there's no way I can pass on my hand and eye coordination to someone else. So the best way to learn Overwatch and improve your aim and get better aim in Overwatch is by playing Overwatch. You can do all these warm-up things and they're great. Don't get me wrong. Playing the McCree versus McCree, playing the fair v fair is going to help you a lot in those specific scenarios where you're playing, as McCree versus another McCree, as a fair versus another fair. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of variables that go into Overwatch. There are a lot of different scenarios that happen in Overwatch. What if the Widow that peeks me, at double doors, has a bubble? I found the Widow up top, even though I'm aiming head level. It doesn't matter if I have good aim. At the end of the day, she has the bubble. I can't do any damage to her. Or, standing behind a Reinhardt shield. What if the Widow just peeks behind a Reinhardt shield and shoots me? There are a lot of variables and a lot of things that you can do to honestly negate good aim in Overwatch, and that's not a bad thing. That's just how the game is. But so the best way to actually play the game and warm up in Overwatch is by playing ranked, playing whatever. That's going to improve your aim the fastest because you're presented with actual scenarios in game. So I know you're like, well, duh, but the thing is people ask for all these warm ups and teach me how to aim, and it's something that can't be taught. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave some comments if you have suggestions for the next video, and other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.